Hello, today we're going to be doing a walkthrough on the Utopia product. We're going to be looking at an example where we convert an XML document into a JSON document with some data mapping in between. Let's have a look. For this example, I'm going to take a theoretical purchase order that's coming into the system in XML. We're going to be changing it into a sales order that's in JSON format, and we're going to be looking at converting the quantities and the prices by means of a data map to a unit of measure sort of conversion. So here we're going to look up this information and convert those prices by a factor of 6 so that they go from a case sort of value into a unit value, and sort of show how Utopia manages those that mapping. So to start, I'm going to just get Utopia up here, and I'm going to create a new org. And go to the integration hub, select our new org, and now I'm going to create a data in XML input PO. Alright, cool. I'm going to add the sample data, which will be this XML. Here we go. I'm going to add an identifier for the order ID here. Order ID. There we go. I'm going to generate transactions, allow replacements, and mark that as active. For now, I'm not going to worry about adding a source connector or a listener. That sort of controls how the system sort of can pull this information in. So, you could set up to pull this document from an FTP site, use a REST API to pull it. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do there, or a listener, which is an API generator. So here we could create an API endpoint to capture this information from external source. But for now, I'm just going to leave this as is, save, and now we can see there's our document, there's the identifier, we can view it in the transaction page. There we go. All right, so now let's transform it. So I'm going to create a transform, and I'm going to go XML to JSON, SO, and here is our document. We're trying to get it to look like this, and the key things to look here is the name. So this document's got a name and a surname field, where this is just a single name, and there's a total value here, and we're going to adjust the quantities and the product IDs. So there's a map which we're going to need from this spreadsheet to map this code to this code, and then have these those conversion factors loaded in. So if I'm just going to save this and do a data map. I'm going to add the map here. Here we go. So that's XML, Excel file, and you can see it decodes it. So you can throw in the translation layer, you can use CSVs, Excel documents, XMLs, and JSONs, and the translation layer will just be able to decode it based on the extension. I'm going to break this up into batches of items so that each of these will come through as its own document, and I'm going to use the customer code as the identifier here. Can ignore duplicates there, so we can save that. And this little number here tells us that this one document came in, and there's now 2 entries attached to it. Here we can see, and you can view, because we've batched them, you can view the details of each one. So now we're ready to do that transform. So let's have a look and edit this. All right. So this is the designer page, basically a UI that allows you to access the functionality of a Mongo aggregation pipeline. So first off, we need to split up this name into a surname and a first name. So I'm going to add a field, first name, and I'm going to just create an alias here. I think it was name. There we go. Name. And there's a space in between there, so I'm just going to split that by a space, and we can see here. There we go. But the first name is only going to be the first split, so we need to adjust that, and I'm going to choose the array element at position 0. There we go, and first name John. So now we need to do the same for a surname, so I'm just going to copy this, add a field, surname, same alias, and I'm going to do this, but this time this will be in position 1. And there we have first name, surname. That's great. Now let's look at the products. So the products, we are going to do a product map. I'm going to look up, this is product map, from our data map. And if we have a look here, it'll pull through the schema. This schema allows you to add in any details where if it can't find a match, so you could have here code not found, or potentially depending on how you have your system, you could say A100 where it will still now map to that code and go into your following system, but just with that code for people. But for now I'm just going to leave this as null, and we are going to map the customer code to the customer code item ID. There we go. Item ID. There we go. And now it's found the match and now brought up all those enriched sort of data values. And now we can use these in a calculation. So the quantity we need to change to be quantity times by the unit of measure. So I'm just going to adjust that. And quantity, and I'm just going to copy this because that is the parent field that we are looking for here. And secondly, I'm going to use the UIM. There we go. Perfect. So here, quantity is actually now going to be times B. And there we go. We can see that it's now made that change. So cool. Now the quantity is sorted out. Now for the price, I'm just going to do the opposite and divide it by the price. So if we look at the price, and UM, there we go. I'm going to call this, you can just call it, let's say we just call it price, and we want this to be under the item node, and this will be A divided by B. There we go. This one works out nicely. This one's got a bit of a rounding, so let's round that off. Just going to go round for 3 decimal places. And there we go. Perfect. So now essentially we have enriched this data set with all the new information that we need. And now we need to put it in our desired output format. So here we can do a projection. output, and I'm just going to load up the output file, and this will pull in the schema that we're looking for. And now we can just go through and match all the fields. So that's the order ID, customer ID. That in the supplier might be a static thing, so we could say this is customer 100. The order date. I'm just going to save this. I forgot to add the total. So add a total, that's also, we can just use the sum function there. So I'm going to add a field total, and for that we need the price and the quantity, and I'm just going to do sum of A times B. Got an ALMA error, let's check that out. Here we go. Multiply only supports numeric types, not array. Okay, let's make a total line price. Total line price and quantity. So this will be A times B, and we're going to want this under item. There we go, there's our totals, and now we need to sum those together. I'm just going to move this here and here, and then this, we'll add this to be line, total line, and in here we'll close that. There we go, and now we've got our total. So the system didn't like us to do multiplication on array elements without having that parent field in there, so we just needed to add that in, and now we have our total. So now we can go back into our output here, the zip code, postal code. So here, postal code, and then our total. There we go. And now the product ID, product map, we want the supplier code with the supplier description and the quantity and the new price, which is price, and we can save that. And now we have our output file. So the output file is in JSON, and then if it needed to be an XML, you could have it in XML. But essentially, that's the before, and this is the after. There we go. So now we can give it a identifier. We want the PO number to be the identifier, and we can save it. Okay, now that it's saved, we can head over to the transactions page, and here we can see there's now a new document off the original XML that we've done. So it's our JSON, and if we have a look, there's our JSON, there's our sales order, the surnames, the zip codes, the totals, it all looks good. And that document is now ready to be sent out. So if you wanted to create an out, there's a variety of things you can do here as well. Send it in to FTP or SFTP, send it out through SMTP, through an email. And all of these connectors, or publishers rather, you will actually tell it. So in the SMTP here, for example, so in this SMTP, for example, here you'll actually specify the content type. So here you could go application application JSON, or XML or CSV, and the translation layer will then take that document, convert it into whatever format you need, and send it out. That's a little run through of what you can do with Utopia. Very basic demo. We're going to have a look in the next video on how to do the exact same data transform using ChatGPT, which should be quite interesting. Thank you for watching, and as usual, if you have any questions, please jump onto our support channels, the open chat room and the email, and get in touch with us. We'd love to get some feedback.